It's Parm King with another guide to Curse of Strahd, this time Lake Zarovich. But before I jump into it, a big, huge special thank you and shout out to all of my Patreon supporters. It's your support that encourages me and keeps me going to make these Curse of Strahd guides, including the Foundry Adventure modules. That's right, everything you see here, including the maps, the sound effects, the actors, all the additional contract roll tables, all of that information is available in a module that you can just import right into Foundry and enjoy this entire guide and scene to Curse of Strahd. I also want to give a special thanks to DM Andy, who continues to make some of the best maps I've ever seen. This one is Lake Zarovich, and he's gracious enough to allow me to include it in this video as well into that Foundry Adventure module for the Patreon members. If you're interested in being a Patreon member, you can click on the link down below, patreon.com/ParmKing. And if you're interested in DM Andy's map, including grid list, different weather effects, his link is down below. So let's go ahead and jump into this. But before we do, let's talk a little bit about Lake Zarovich. Now, in Curse of Strahd, it's in Chapter 2. It's not even a full page. It's kind of sad, actually. It just describes the lake, describes somebody fishing on the lake. It's Bluto. He's kidnapped a little girl in a sack. She's a Vistani girl. He thinks Vistani are good luck, so he's going to toss her over into the lake, let her drown as a sacrifice, hoping to catch more fish. Now, in my humble opinion, that is kind of a little far for a destitute drunk. There's got to be something more to it. And I just thought it felt disconnected to the entire Vallaki scene. Now, if you've watched or are familiar with St. Andrew's video and that guide, especially for searching for the skull of St. Andrew, the Father Petrovich gives a clue about a fish hook being used to open up the chest that contained the skull. And he suggests seeing the town fisherman Bluto about that fish hook. So this gives you a reason and purpose to come to Lake Zarovich and question Bluto about that fish hook, who he might have sold it to that could have stolen the skull. Remember, that entire quest is really sending the players on this kind of Scooby-Doo mystery around Vallaki, trying to solve where that skull is, and one of those locations should take you, most likely will take you here to Lake Zarovich. In addition to that, what I decided to do is put a roll table together here of rumors about the monster of the lake. Now, you can run this roll table completely independently. My thought process with this is that you would mix some of these rumors of a monster on the lake when they might be talking to someone in the Blue Water Inn or the Blackwater Tavern or one of the villagers within Vallaki. So let's just take a look at some of these here, and we'll just roll them. So this kind of sets up the situations. Your players may be searching for the skull or heading around Vallaki. They might learn about some monster in the lake. So let's just roll a couple of these so you can see what they are, and let's go ahead and do that. So the first one here, it says, when Bluto gets drunk, he sometimes mumbles about a giant monster in the lake. I think he spends too much time in that bottle. There's no monster out there, just stories. Just Bluto talking about the big one that got away. Here's another one here. Lake is dangerous, that's all I know. So that's the majority of them. Majority of the people won't know anything. I've got a weighted table here slightly. Another Tom folk says, Old Man Smackwitch used to fish on that lake. The only thing they found was his boat. Monster of the lake got him, I say. And two more here. I saw it. No one believes me. I was by the lake and then I saw it. The monster stuck its head out. It was huge, big eyes, and it stared at me. I thought it was going to eat me. That's the last time I went to the lake, and it's the last time I will drink Lila's mushroom potion. So it's a little play on drinking that mushroom potion. You probably shouldn't drink too much of that magic mushroom potion, huh? There's two more here. There's a story of some trappers stalking a wolf into a cave on the far side of the lake. Trappers and the wolf never came out. They say the monster of the lake lives in that cave. And last but not least, a long time ago, I was walking near the lake and spotted a small deer drinking by the lake. In a split second, something yanked it and pulled it underwater. It was so fast I could not see it. I've never walked by that lake again. So these are little rumors that you can sprinkle throughout Vallaki that will send them. It's all about the lake, and there's a monster in the lake. That's right. there is a monster in that lake. So this is not just a Bluto encounter. There's 2 maps here. So let's take a look at the Lake Zarovich. Here's the lake. We've got the mountain in the background. Out there you can see there's the boat. This is a small image of James RPG art. I'll put a link down below. He makes animated maps. I use them as theater of the mind maps. I've included a small thumbnail one in the journal entry to give you kind of an image of what the lake looks like. Now the mists still hang over the water. There's a little bit of text here. There's 3 boats sitting on the shore, and you'll notice that Bluto's out there. Seems to be fishing. Now here are the DM notes. Bluto has this little girl, just like rules is written. He's under hypnosis. Pluto's charmed by the Gitrog, and you're going to learn about this Gitrog monster shortly. Now, he's been hypnotized to bring food to the Gitrog monster. Bluto is methodically going through a series of actions to deliver this little girl that he's kidnapped. The players begin to yell at him, right? If they yell at him, he will not respond. He is totally hypnotized, going through the motions. Now he'll begin to try to lift the body of the girl who's struggling in the canvas, who begins to yell. Now at this point, the players will know that he's got a body, and there's somebody in that bag screaming, a little girl. The players will hear the young girl's scream echo across the lake, seeming to struggle in the small rowboat. He'll toss it into the sack of the little girl into the water. Now, as soon as the girl, Arabelle, in the sack hits the water, he's no longer charmed. He just sits down, picks up his fishing pole, and starts fishing, forgetting everything he just did. None of that happened in his mind. Remember, he was hypnotized and charmed to do this. Now, if he's confronted, he won't know what the players are talking about. Now, there's 3 rowboats along the shore. Let's take a look at the shore really quick. I'm going to go ahead and delete this over here, clean it up. Now here's this beautiful map, again made by DM Andy. Each one of these rowboats are actually an asset. You can move them. Now the rowboats will each hold 3 players in it, 1 rowing and 2 sitting, one in the bow and 1 in the stern. So there's 3 rowboats, and if you go way out in the lake here, you can see there he is. There's Bluto fishing out in the lake. I have Arabelle, I have her invisible here. You can just click on her, make her visible. There she is, there's Bluto. He's out there, and now he just picks up his fishing pole and starts fishing her. He's throwing her into the lake. Now, the players can decide to try to save her, right? They see this girl, she's tossed in the lake, and this is how that mechanic works. So the players who attempt to try to save her, if they're swimming, they're gonna roll a strength check, DC 15. This is pretty much rules as written. And they're successful to swim out there and get her before she drowns. If they're in one of the boats, they'll roll a DC 10. Now, only 1 person will roll for the whole boat, and they got to get a DC 10. You can only get 3 people per boat, so in order to save them. Now, the Gitrog is under the water, and it will move in to collect the sack containing the body as soon as she hits the water. Now, there's only 2 outcomes here. Failing to save Arabelle. If the players fail to save it, they'll see the Gitrog take the sack of Arabelle across the lake and disappear into the cave on the other side of the lake. Now, Arabelle will still be alive. The Gitrog monster has her. We're going to jump to that map and talk about that shortly. Now, if they do save Arabelle, and the Gitrog will surface some distance away, it will make this huge croaking roar. The players will all see it, and it'll swim over towards its cave and go in the cave. So in both situations, it either kidnaps and takes Arabelle in the sack to its cave, or it doesn't get Arabelle. It's kind of upset. It croaks and roars. The players see it go in the cave. Both situations, the players see the Gitrog go to its cave. Now let's talk about the cave. Let's just go ahead and jump right into the cave here. And I'll go ahead and switch the sound to the cave. And we're going to play this as Bluto from his perspective. So let's just turn off the lake sound, jump into the cave sound. It's a little loud. Let me turn that down for you guys. It seems to be on full blast. Okay, so let's talk about this Gitrog cave. To the north side of the lake, you'll notice an entrance of a cave on the edge of the lake, and the weeds and foliage from the bankment of the lake kind of obscure this entrance. When the players get close to it, there's a foul smell coming from it, like this toxic, noxious, horrible smell in this cave, and the cave is right at the water's edge. So I imagine when the lake floods a little bit, water goes into the cave, and it kind of keeps it kind of muddy and dank and rotting. That's the Gitrog right here. It is a giant toad beast. Now, this entire encounter came up from an idea I found on Reddit. I actually put a link to it from 2 years ago. Someone put an idea of using this Gitrog creature. I've changed the stat blocks and changed the encounter quite a bit, but there's a link in here. So this comes from a Reddit fan named Farmer, I believe. So there's a link to his post in Reddit. Now what happens here, the Gitrog, let's give a little background of this Gitrog. What is this? Why is it there? Why is it messing with Bluto? So the Gitrog makes its home in a burrow on the north edge of the lake. And the layer itself is tightly made of densely packed mud. This thing is like a massive giant toad frog creature. It's a cavernous burrow in the north edge of the lake, which is partially floods, as I mentioned before, with water when the lake is high, keeping the layer just wet and muddy. And again, the weeds and the grass and on the embankment obscure the entrance. Now, if the player goes to the Bluto encounter, they're going to see that Gitrog go into the cave. However, if they don't, if they've just heard the rumors, or maybe you could put it together that somebody in town wants them to go kill this Gitrog, they're going to have to find it. And that's a DC 18, whether it's perception, investigation, or some other search mechanism. I would make it difficult for them to find this cave if they didn't see the Gitrog go right into it. Now, this is Bluto's first time kidnapping and feeding the Gitrog. The Gitrog has a baby. It's protecting and feeding in the east part of this cave. So the Gitrog usually hunts on its own. It goes around the edge of the lake, feeds on deer that you've learned through the rumor and other creatures. It's pretty much cleaned out the lake of the big fish. That's why nobody really fishes anymore. And it has used its hypnotic gaze on Bluto, because it sees Bluto fishing all the time. It's used it on Bluto to bring it food, because the Gitrog needs to spend more time, protecting and raising its young instead of hunting it for food. So it's got Bluto doing its business for it, going out there and grabbing creatures to feed to him. This is the first time he's done it. And again, he snaps out of that charm spell and doesn't know what's happened to him. So let's go ahead and follow. We're going to use our fisherman here at the cave entrance. Here he is at the cave entrance. Now, this is not one of DM Andy's gorgeous map. This is a map that I made in Dungeon Draft. So this is not at the quality level of DM Andy. Maybe I get DM Andy to make me a quick map here and update this in the near future. He's working hard on making some more maps for Curse of Strahd. When the players come in, they're going to smell that toxic smell, and they're going to see this body over here kind of decaying and a broken, there's a broken shield and stuff here. As the players go further deep into the cave, again, they're going to see some more body parts and stuff over here. They're going to approach this noxic-looking pool. Now, let's talk about this pool for a second. Now, this is, I imagine this pool, it's got this kind of orange vapor coming off it. It's just nasty. It's toxic. The water is, the gas is. And what happens is when that lake floods a little bit, that water seeps into the cave and just collects in here. And between the excrement and the poison of the giant Gitrog, I keep on saying Gitrog crawling through the cave, this water's just become putrid and just toxic. So when the players go into the water, which they will have to get to either the west cave or the east cave, they're going to have to roll a Constitution saving throw each one. It's a DC 12. Otherwise, they become poisoned. So let's go to the west side of the cave first. Here we go. We're in the toxic pool for the DC save, and now we're in the west side of the cave. Now let's talk about the west side of the cave. The west side of the cave is where the Gitrog keeps its food. Now, Gitrog eats only live food. It won't eat anything dead. So if it captures something, usually it'll either capture it and hold on to its mouth or swallow it, and it will regurgitate it up. There's a pit here to keep it later to feed. Remember, it's got a baby, so it's bringing back extra food. And there's a pit up here, which your players will find. And if they've captured Arabelle, she will be down this pit. Now, a couple things about this pit. The pit is 20 feet down. If the player falls into a pit, it's a 2d10 bludgeoning damage. I already got that right in here. You just can click on it and roll it. Damage from the fall is going to be 5. And she's going to be down in the bottom of this pit. Now, the thing you might be asking is, why are all these, there's some dead bodies and skeletons and some I mean, it's just sick, disgusting pit. So you can imagine this kind of Gitrog belching up these live creatures, animals, humans, whatever, dwarves, whatever it's swelled to spit up, and it's sitting in this pit, and it's keeping them there to eat later. Now, imagine the ones that have died from an injury or from malnutrition. The Gitrog's not going to eat it, so it just allows that creature to slowly suffer and die. So the bottom of this pit is just nasty, with some rotted body parts and skeletons, because these are all the ones it didn't eat. They died accidentally. The Gitrog didn't want them to die, but just left them there, and so it throws down its live victims there to eat later, and it's been doing that more so because it's got this baby to feed. So you can rescue her. Now, there's another thing that's happening in the west side of the cave. Let me just zoom out so you can see the entire west side of the cave. So this is the west side over here, this whole west to north area with the pit in it. What happens in the west side of the cave, remember this entire cavern's made with impact mud. And this side of the cave is starting to dry out a little bit. It's maybe a little higher elevation. And pieces of mud fall from the ceiling every 5 minutes or so. You can run your own timing mechanism. Now, what I would do here is every time, as the players are just in the west side of the cave, maybe trying to rescue her or doing something, have a timing mechanism. And when that timing mechanism clicks through, whether it's 5 minutes of real time or however you want to do it, you're going to secretly roll a 1d4. And there's because a piece of mud's going to fall, and the players have a 25% chance of it landing on one of them. So you're going to roll this, and if it rolls a 1, which is 25% chance, that giant piece of mud's going to come down and hit a player. Now, the player's going to make a dexterity save, DC 13. If they fail to save, they're going to take 1d6 in bludgeoning damage and be knocked prone. So as they're moving through the west side of the cave, it's kind of drying out, and big chunks of this mud are falling down from the ceiling, and when they do, they have a 25% chance of being hit. One of the players does. So you've got a little bit of this layer action going on. You find this pit. You might be having to rescue Arabelle if she's in that pit, if they failed to rescue her with Bluto on the lake. Okay, let's go over to the east side. Come on, Bluto, let's head over there. We're going to just head over to the east side of this nasty cavern. Here he comes. Every time you travel through the toxic pool, now if you're already poisoned, you don't have to, but every time you travel through it, you're going to have to roll that DC save of 12, Constitution save of 12. Now, when we get to the east side, this is where the Gitrog hangs out. It won't come forward and attack your players. It's hanging over here because this is where the nest is, where the baby Gitrog is, and it's there protecting its nest. Now, the Gitrog knows as soon as you enter into the tunnel. So as soon as you entered in before, you're going to hear this Gitrog roar. I forgot to play it for you. Let me just play it for you. So you're going to hear this Gitrog. By the way, when you first entered the tunnel down here, you're going to hear this. That's the Gitrog roar. That's warning you. Now, you're not going to know where it's going to come from. It's just echoing through the tunnel. You know there's a creature in there, and it doesn't want you coming in. This is a warning. Now, as soon as you get to the eastern cave and you come out of the toxic pool, the Gitrog will roar right away again. Now, the Gitrog, if you're within 60 feet, there's the Gitrog. If you're within 60 feet of it, you're going to have to roll a wisdom save of 14, or you're going to become frightened for 1 minute. Now, if you've already become frightened, or if you've saved, you're going to be immune to that the Gitrog's roar, that roar. What do you call it? I have a name for it here. What is it? It is its roaring croak. So as soon as you come out again, you're going to hear that Gitrog roar again. Here it is. And every player is going to have to roll a saving throw, otherwise it's going to be frightened. Now, let's talk about this encounter. There's a treasure. We're going to talk about the treasure second, but let's talk about the encounter first and how this is going to go down. So we've got this Gitrog here, and what I did was I put all its special abilities here in the journal, but I also have it in the biography here too, and it's in the PDF as well. But I wanted to talk about the combat encounter with this thing. Remember, this is protecting its nest. There's a nest up here. We can take a look at it. Here's the nest. There's the baby Gitrog in there. And so it's going to do everything it can to protect it. And this creature is huge. You can see it's taking up twice the amount of space, 4 times the amount of space as Bluto over here, right? And this thing is going to be a bitch to fight. So it has a multi-attack. It has a tongue lash and a bite. Now, if there's no creature close to it within 5 feet, it's going to use its tongue lash, and if it succeeds, pull a creature towards it, and then it will bite. So what you're doing is, imagine you're kind of like a large frog, or a toad or whatever, and you've got a creature 15 feet out. You're going to use your tongue lash to try to pull that creature in, and when it gets in, you're going to try to take a bite, and then you're going to try to swallow it. If a creature is close to it, it can use 2 bite attacks if it wants. So that's a multi-attack. Now, how does the tongue lash work? It can select one target within 15 feet. It's a +7 to hit, and it does 2d6 plus 4 bludgeoning damage plus 1d8 poison. I'll just roll those here for you. So it does a 2d6 bludgeoning, and then it does a 1d8 worth of poisoning damage. Now, if the attack hits, the target must make a DC 15 strength save, or it's going to be pulled to the Gitmore. So it'll get pulled to the Gitmore. The second thing is, if it gets pulled, that target will face a bite attack as the second. I keep on saying Gitmore. Gitrog. Sorry. It's going to make a second attack will be the bite attack of the Gitrog, and it will be a 2d10 plus 4 piercing. This thing is nasty, plus another 1d8 worth of poison. Now the target is grappled. It has a DC 15 to try to escape. Until this grapple ends, the target is considered restrained, and the Gitrog cannot bite another target or use its tongue lash. So as long as it's got this, if it makes a successful bite, it's holding on to this. It's biting and holding on to this creature, right? And it can't bite or use its tongue lash again as long as it's grappling this creature. Now the Gitrog it's going to try to attempt to swallow this creature that it's bitten. And the creature can attempt, this is a second saving throw. It's a strength or dexterity check of a DC 15. And I would role play this out. The Gitrog has grabbed him. It's going to kind of try to swallow it. Now, if you have kind of a fighter, it's going to try to use its strength to try to keep it from being swallowed, or maybe it's a rogue or something. It's going to use its dexterity to try to avoid being swallowed here. And let the players figure out which of the 2 saving throws they want to roll. Now, this is to avoid being swallowed. This is not avoid being grappled. It's still going to be grappled by dealing in a grappling with this Gitrog. It's avoid being swallowed. This does not break the grapple. Now, the Gitrog, if it fails to swallow, will, at the start of the next Gitrog turn, try to swallow the creature if it's still grappled. So if the creature didn't break free, it will try at the beginning of its turn to swallow again, and then the creature will again try to make that saving throw. Now, if the creature is swallowed, the creature is blinded and restrained. It has total cover against any attacks outside the Gitrog. It's actually in the belly of this Gitrog. And it will take, at the beginning of the Gitrog's turn, 3d6 worth of acid damage. The Gitrog is trying to digest the creature in its body. Now, there's important things to note if you've been swallowed by a Gitrog. If the Gitrog has swallowed a creature, it is trying to digest the creature, and the creature will remain alive. And if it's alive inside the Gitrog, the Gitrog will be unable to jump. Its movement now slows to 10 feet. It will not be able to do a tongue lash, and will only bite to make attacks, not bite to grapple. The Gitrog will slowly back into its nest and defend itself and its young as it tries to digest the creature that it's just swallowed. Now, if the Gitrog dies and it has a swallowed creature, this creature is no longer restrained and can escape from the corpse of the Gitrog with 10 feet of movement, and it will exit prone out of the Gitrog. If the Gitrog takes damage, see, if you're in the Gitrog, you're still alive, you can still try to cut your way out of the Gitrog. Now, if you take damage, if the Gitrog takes damage from your weapon from within inside, the Gitrog has to make a Constitution saving throw of a DC equal to the damage it's taken. On a failure, the Gitrog will regurgitate any of the swallowed creatures it has. So it'll regurgitate the creature that it swallowed, whether that creature has made an attack or not. Now, if the baby Gitrog is attacked or comes into combat, the Gitrog will automatically regurgitate whatever it swallowed because it's going to rush to protect its young. And it can't, right? Because its movement's been slowed down. It's starting to digest a creature, so it's going to regurgitate up the creature that it swallowed so they can focus on protecting its young. Now, the Gitrog has the Roaring Croak, which we talked about. Any creature within 60 feet that hears it must succeed a DC 14 Wisdom save or be frightened for 1 minute. Obviously, they become immune for 24 hours to the Gitrog's roar if they succeed. It also has this hypnotic gaze, the same thing that it used on Bluto. Now, the Gitrog targets one humanoid it can see within 30 feet of it. If the target can see the Gitrog, the target must succeed a DC 14 Charisma save or be charmed by the Gitrog. So if you're looking at the Gitrog and you make eye contact, it has this hypnotic gaze. Now, the charmed creature feels compelled to feed the Gitrog the nearest humanoid creature. That means if one of your party gets charmed, it's going to try to grab one of the fellow party members to sacrifice it to the Gitrog, to feed the Gitrog. Each time the target that's been charmed takes damage or the Gitrog roars, that creature can again repeat that saving throw to see if the effect of the charm ends successfully. Otherwise, the charm will last 24 hours or until the Gitrog is killed or is away from the Gitrog for more than 24 hours. Now, if a player has been charmed by the Gitrog and has attempted to try to feed the Gitrog, obviously a fellow player, right? That player is going to suffer madness. They're going to when the effect ends, the player must roll a Wisdom save of DC 12 or suffer a long-term madness. Now, the madness will last 1d10 times 10 hours. You can just roll that right here. I actually have the madness table in here. You can click right in here, roll. It's going to tell you what madness if you fail your save. And you can roll this here. So for 10 hours, you're going to suffer. Character feels compelled to repeat a specific activity over and over, such as washing hands, touching things, praying, or counting coins. So you're going to have long-term madness effect because, that's pretty traumatic. You've just been hypnotized and you've just tried to feed the Gitrog, one of your fellow party members. So that effect will happen immediately when that player is no longer charmed by the Gitrog. Now, the Gitrog does have some legendary actions. The Gitrog has the following legendary actions it will only use if the baby has entered combat. It'll make 3 legendary actions per round. The Gitrog can perform a legendary action at the end of any other creature's turn. So it can do a tongue lash, a bite, or a roaring croak. It can do that as legendary actions, but it's only going to do those legendary actions is if the baby is being attacked or if the baby's entered into combat, right? You can imagine it's now really getting upset. It's trying to protect its young. Now, it does have 2 legendary resistances per day. If the Gitrog fails a saving throw, it can succeed instead and has 2 of those per day. So, imagine it's got this tongue coming out trying to grab things. Going out there, your player might want to try to chop that tongue off or something in that tongue lashing. Now, if the baby Gitrog here, let's get to the baby Gitrog. There it is. The baby Gitrog only does 1 attack. It has a bite and a swallow, just like the big Gitrog. It has a standing leap. It's only 39 hit points, 11 armor class. It's a feature similar to a large toad. The baby Gitrog will remain in its nest. By round 4, the baby Gitrog will wonder where daddy Gitrog went. It will wander out of its nest and it will join into the fight and begin attacking. Now, if the Gitrog has swallowed a creature and sees the baby Gitrog come out, it's going to regurgitate at that creature to defend the baby Gitrog. And the Gitrog will do anything it can become between it, between the baby and those that are attacking its baby. Now, otherwise, the baby will remain in the nest and won't leave the nest at all, but if any players get close to it, it will attack. Now, after the combat encounter, and let's bring up the treasure here. After the combat encounter, there's a treasure mound. And with such a huge, I mean, by the way, this Gitrog, and I'll just bring it up, is pretty nasty. I mean, this is going to be a brutal fight. It's 149 hit points, armor class 15. As you can see, it's got the tongue lash, the bite, the multi-attack. It can swallow. It's got the legendary actions. It's a fierce creature to go up again. It's going to be dangerous. Chances are a player might get swallowed and have to be fighting from inside the Gitrog and be suffering acid damage every turn. It's going to be a brutal fight. So with a brutal fight like this, there's got to be some awesome treasure, and there is. Why is there awesome treasure? You think this Gitrog monster is collecting treasure? No. The Gitrog tends to swallow its food whole, and what's unable to digest, mostly metal, is in a mound north and the east of the cave. So up in here in the north part of this eastern cave where the Gitrog is, there's a pile of coin and other items dispersed among it. Now the pile smells foul because it's infused with the excrement of the Gitrog. Remember, it can't digest any metal, so it's just kind of whatever, either throwing it up or shitting it out. So it's just a nasty mound in there. So if the players sift through the mound of excrement and treasure, the player must make a Constitution saving throw DC 10, or they become sick and their eyes begin to water. If they become sick, they're going to have to rest for 10 minutes before they can start sifting through this kind of treasure mound excrement. Players who pass a Constitution saving throw may proceed, and they'll find the following items. And I have all those items right here. So they're going to find, let's just clear out this and tell you what your player's going to find in this nice treasure mound. They're going to find 5d20 plus 400 copper. I just have a roll in here, make it easy. They're going to find 200 plus 5d20 in silver, 5d20 plus 100 gold. They're also going to find all these other items: 2 daggers, a dart, bell, a grapple hook, an amulet worth 25 gold, caltrips, chain 10 feet long, 19 fishing hooks, glass bottle, hard hand axe, hourglass, iron flask, 5 iron spikes, a lamp, miner's pick, and sledgehammer. And that's right, the Gitrog has a magic loot table. Now, I chose some items that I thought were small enough. I didn't put a giant, glaive or something in there, but small items, magic items that are made of metal that the Gitrog would either vomit or defecate over into this pile. So there's an arrow +3, there's a vicious dagger, a crossbow bolt +2, a ring of cold resistance, a ring of fire resistance, and a hand axe. Now, you can make more if you want to, put more of them in there. I would suggest keeping them small items, nothing big, but some magic items in here. And if you only want them to have one of the magic items, you can just roll off this table and let it select one, and they find here, a magic arrow +3 mixed in the mound of the other stuff. So there's a Gitrog magic magic loot table in here as well. So that's the big treasure mound they find in here. So that's it. That's the Gitrog lair there, the cave on the north end of the map with the toxic pool in the center and the pit to rescue Arabelle. And we also have Lake Zarovich here with this gorgeous map by DM Andy. I just wanted to kind of flesh it out a little bit more, give Bluto a purpose to what he's doing, create some cool treasure. I mean, a lot of the times when your players are in Vallaki, they could be in Vallaki for a few sessions, and it's not going to be a lot of combat encounters. Mostly it's going to be exploring, shopping, engaging, and learning about the lore and the political stuff. So I thought this would be kind of just a little quick side combat encounter with some really nice loot. If the players get that loot, now they've got some money to spend back in the town of Vallaki. Hey, I really hope you enjoyed this guide to the Lake Zarovich. Please go ahead and hit like and subscribe. It helps get my video out there to other people that are interested in Curse of Strahd. Until next time, may all your rolls be critically 20. Critically successful.